Every day is a renewal. Every morning, the daily miracle. This joy that you feel is life. And so I welcome you this morning in celebration of renewal, of joy, and of motherhood everywhere. Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Hank Peirce. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I want to welcome all of you to our worship this morning. Whether you are tuning in locally or whether you are tuning in from New Mexico or North Carolina, folks from our Unitarian Universalist Church in Wakefield, and from all of you far away, it is so good to have all of you here with us this morning. Thank you for inviting us into your home. I want to wish a special happy birthday to Laura Cavicchio, and I also want to congratulate our three graduates, Allie, Marcus, and Brooke, who all graduated from, or they've completed their studies at college this week. So congratulations to all of them. Let me now hand over our worship service to our worship associate this morning, Kelly Tome.
Good morning and happy Mother's Day. My name is Kelly Tome and my pronouns are she, her. I'm happy to welcome you into my dining room, which now, like all our living rooms and dining rooms, is part of our virtual Unitarian Universalist Church of Reading. In these new, unfamiliar, and often stressful times, our mission statement has never been more relevant. We are a welcoming place to nurture and explore individual spirituality, to build a committed and loving community, and heal the world. You are welcome in this community, no matter your race, cultural background, or previous religious experiences, differing abilities, political affiliation, sexual orientation, or gender identity. It doesn't matter where you live, who you live with, or how your family came to be. You are invited to bring your whole authentic self, and it doesn't matter whether today you feel hopeful and strong or struggling with feeling like we've been sheltering in place forever. You are welcome here today, and I hope that while social distancing prevents our in-person greeting one another, each and every one of you feels a virtual hug or fist bump for the non-huggers of welcome. Please join us after the service for virtual congregating and real conversation in what I'm calling our fellowship Zoom room. It's a chance to catch up with friends new and long time, because I'm not going to say old friends. And I promise it's okay if you're still in your PJs. The Zoom link can be found in the description section just below the video you're watching, as well as in the latest issue of the church newsletter. Let me say again how glad that all of us, I, Reverend Hank, Sally, Jamie, Mary, Trevor, Linda, and Jay are that you're with us today. Please take a moment to get comfortable in body and spirit and enter into our time of worship.
Hi, friends. Would you join me in saying the opening, the words we say each week as we light our chalice? In the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, we gather this day. May the flame we now kindle be to us a symbol of the holiness that we seek. Our first hymn that we're going to sing this morning was inspired by, well, an obituary I saw. It was for a woman who died at the age of 108 years old. Her name was Eleanor Fosdick Downs. She was a doctor. She served, pediatric doctor. She served for the World Health Organization. She became the dean of medicine at Columbia University. And her father was the late Reverend Harry Emerson Fosdick, minister of the Riverside Church in New York. And he wrote this first hymn. So in honor of her and all the women who do amazing things in this world, we will sing our first hymn.
Please sing with me the timely words to this old hymn, God of grace and God of glory. God of grace and God of glory, on thy people pour thy power, crown thy ancient church's story, bring its bud to a glorious flower, grant us wisdom, grant us courage, for the facing of this hour, for the facing of this hour. Lo, the clouds of evil around us, hide thy brightness from our gaze, from the fears that long have bound us, free our hearts to faith and praise. Grant us wisdom, grant us courage, for the living of these days, for the living of these days. Cure thy children's warring madness, bend our pride to thy command, shame our wanton selfish gladness, rich in things and poor in soul. Grant us wisdom, grant us courage, make thy peace our daily goal, make thy peace our daily goal. Fill us with a living vision, heal our wounds that we may be bound as one beyond divisions in the struggle to be free. Grant us wisdom, grant us courage, ears to hear and eyes to see, ears to hear and eyes to see.
Good morning. I'm Sally Lieberman. My pronouns are she and her. Today is a day many of us celebrate, Mother's Day, acknowledging how important our mothers are in our lives. Some people have mothers, grandmothers, aunties, teachers, doctors, and friends who are women who are really important in their lives. It used to be kind of a normal thing that women took care of children. It was thought that they were made to take care of children and that they were naturally better at it. Now we know that's not true, and we know that kind of thinking isn't even fair. Men can be soft in voice and touch, men can be gentle, and men can love and care for children and grow them into their whole selves. We also know that not everyone in a body that we think and assume are female parts feels like a woman. We know that not everyone with male body parts, or what we assume are male body parts, feels like a man. We know that everyone has their own identity, how they feel, who they love, and who they are. What we do know that it is important
the way that we are in relationship with others. All children need gentle care, love, kindness, compassion. We know that it is not just women and mothers who want peace on earth. We understand families include so many people who gently care and tend our children. We know that we need our world to be safe. We need to work for peace. And if we do so today in the spirit of our mothers, so be it. A bit later in our service, Kelly's going to tell you about the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute, a group just outside of Boston, who usually has a fundraising walk today on Mother's Day. UUs from our church have walked for years in solidarity with the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about that today, because that is all about moms and people who care for children. Louis D. Brown Peace Institute was created by a mom who lost her son when he was 15 years old. Louis was in high school and he planned to be an engineer and had a very long-term plan to be the first African-American president of the United States. He lived in a part of the city where people are poor and sometimes desperate. We know that when people are in need, they often do whatever they need to do to get by, and we know that leads to violence. Louis wanted the kids that he was growing up with to be working with him in government when they were all older. Louis was planning to be president of the United States. He worked in his community learning and teaching peacemaking skills with teens. One night he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he got caught in someone else's violence, and he died. His mom, Ms. Tina Jerry, learned that all people and systems aren't always kind to families who lose their kids to violence. She learned that there are not always good procedures in place to help people with broken hearts. So she started a Peace Institute in Louis's name. It raises money to help families with broken hearts, providing them care and trauma services, money for legal fees, and memorial services. They also teach teenagers to learn to listen to others, to be patient, to try not to argue, and to be peaceful. That kind of work heals people and can heal the world. So let's take this Mother's Day as a time when we do think about who makes the world better and safer and kinder. Have a great Sunday, everyone.
Friends, will you now join me in our time of prayer and reflection? Let's take a few deep breaths together, in and out. Spirit of life, love that holds us close, be with us as we are gathered this day. Hold us in love, nurture our spirits, bring peace to our hearts. Spirit, we gather here on Mother's Day with hearts to hold all that this day contains. In joy and gratitude, we lift up all those powerful souls who have mothered us. Our mothers, our grandmothers, our godmothers and sisters and aunts, our foster mothers and teacher mothers and mentor mothers, and all the people of many genders whose love and nurturing has shaped our lives. We celebrate all of these who do the work of mothering, who hold hands and wipe away tears, who support big dreams and watch us grow, who teach us our stories or help us to write new ones. We're so grateful for all the people who have mothered us into who we are. And Spirit, we know too that this day that is supposed to be sweet and celebratory, can feel bitter to so many. We hold in this community love and affirmation for all who struggle with this day. We hold especially those who have lost their own mothers, those who have lost children or lost contact with children, those who wished so dearly to be a mother and were unable to, those who had a mother who was frustrating or painful or unkind or not there at all, those who know they mother and yet aren't quite reflected in this day of celebration. We hold each and all of you in love. And in this time of prayer and reflection, while we honor Mother's Day, we also hold a whole community in our prayers. Friends, we especially hold up this joy from our own Melissa Martin. She shares joy and profound gratitude to this wonderful congregation for the outpouring of support that they have given to each other and the greater community. She says that so many have stepped forward to offer support by making phone calls, dropping off supplies, and using their talents to make masks and scrub caps for frontline medical workers. This community provided 180 scrub caps for the ICU nurses and doctors of Mass General, giving them protection and peace of mind when they needed it most. She thanks us all for the ways we are each making this world a better place. We hold that joy. And friends, too, once again, we hold heartbreak as news points us to death and violence brought on by racism and injustice in our systems. Let this violence cease and let us all learn a new way of being. Spirit, for all those loving souls who have shaped our lives and for all those whose hearts are hurting today, and for all the good work we can do and we must do in this world. We are so grateful and we say amen and blessed be.
There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. Sometimes I feel discouraged and think my work's in vain, but then the Holy Spirit revives my soul again. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul.
Our reading this morning is Spiritual History Poetry by Mark L. Bellatini. Let my body remember. Let my hands and feet remember. Let my breath remember those who have come before me, those who have come before us. Didn't Muhammad wait quietly in his cave? And didn't Jesus sigh silently by the blue lake? And Guan Yin, didn't she sit in silence, thinking about what to do before doing it? And what was Siddhartha the Buddha doing, anyway, under that tree, if not just sitting quietly? And Susan B. Anthony, didn't she push back from her desk and take a breath now and then? And Florence Nightingale, didn't she put down her nurse's hat and think silently about what to write in her essay on mysticism before she actually wrote it. And Sophia Faz, didn't she stop telling stories sometimes and just sit there? And didn't Black Elk just notice the sunlight glancing off his chair sometimes? And Starhawk, does she only talk and write, or does she too keep silence? Let us remember them all with our bodies. Let us remember them with the silence they too knew.
The email that I sent out to members of the Chalice Circle that I belong to was that I invited each of them to bring a picture of themselves after they had gone through an important threshold or right in the middle of one. The worship theme this month is thresholds, and we wanted to have a chance to show each other and ourselves what we look like at those moments. Imagine if you were given that task. What photo would you bring that would represent a threshold that you had gone through, or were going through, or were about to go through? Would it be an old photo or a new one? Would it be from a graduation, a wedding, when you got into the military, when you got out of the military? Are you alone in that photo, or are you with others? We asked each other questions like, what new things did you notice about yourself as you looked at that photo again? Who was with you at that time? How did they help you get through that threshold moment and celebrate it? How are you still that same person in that picture? And how have you changed? Now, the photo that I brought did not depict me in one of those moments. In fact, it was the photo itself, the ink on paper. That was the threshold item that I brought. Now, back in 1994, just before I graduated from university and began seminary, I started dating a young woman. It was exciting. We were getting to know each other. And on one of my visits to her apartment, she pulls out a photo. Let me see if I can share this photo with you. I have it right here. Where is it? Let me show this picture to you. All right, there we go. There we are. There I am with my friends Jen and Chris. Look at that. You can tell it was the 1980s because I have all of these bracelets on, those Madonna bracelets. Look at that. Let me stop sharing. Where am I doing? What am I doing here? Hang on. Where did I go? Where did I go? Sorry, folks. Oh my gosh, it's worked so well in
You're good. You're good.
Am I good? Thank you, Jamie. Thank you. Jamie's. Oh, you are right. There we go. Anyway, I visited her. She pulled out that photo and shows me, and she tells me that she had just found that photo that she had taken years before. She'd taken the photo years before as part of a class project. It was the picture of my friends and I trying to fly a kite in Kenmore Square. It was the 80s. I don't need any judgment about trying to fly a kite in Kenmore Square. When she showed me that picture, I wondered, is this just a coincidence that would happen in a city the size of Boston? Or was it something else? Was this photo, in fact, a message? A sign from God? Now, I thought a lot about that, and I wasn't going around telling folks that I had received a message from God, but that's kind of what I was thinking about. Now, looking back now on those events and the reason why I perhaps thought it was a sign from God, I can look back and see that really in my life at that point, I was just looking for an anchor, something that would tie me to home as I was in the middle of a number of life changes, as I was in the middle of a threshold. But at that time, I thought that it was a message from God. A message that said that this was the right person for me to be with, the person I was to marry. Well, I don't need to bore you with the details, so I'll cut to the chase and just remind all of you that I have been divorced. Now, why did I think this was a message from God? Why didn't I share this thought I had with anyone? Probably for a few reasons. First was because most of my friends didn't believe in God, and I thought that they might think that I was going crazy. Also because I'd been raised as a Unitarian Universalist, and we're not people who speak like that, at least not in the Unitarian Universalist church I grew up in. We're often sort of a judgmental people. And lastly, I guess maybe the reason was that I was afraid that people would think that I was making the wrong decision, that someone would point out that I was wrong. Which is what happened long after the fact. I realized that I was wrong. I also realized that I needed someone to talk to. I needed some friends to help me interpret what I thought was a message. Boy, that would have been helpful. As I said, we are not a faith where our children talk about getting a message from God, where even its ministers have difficulty describing who or what has called them into ministry, into our vocations. Answering a call, finding a vocation means, as one writer put it, choosing to follow a call means to limit oneself. Most of us will never be in a vocation which utilizes all of our abilities or satisfies all of our interests. Every vocation, therefore, is limiting. We simply can't do one thing if we decided to do something else. We shouldn't think so much in terms of finding work that challenges all of our skills, but that we seek to do something that gives us profound meaning. Such meaning can probably be found in any dozens of areas of interest and ability. Meaning, then, we will not come so much from tapping a particular skill, but from the way our activity ties us in with people in the larger world. And at another level, from the way in which we do become, the way in which we do becomes the working out of our devotion to the sacred or the divine. Now, this coming Tuesday is International Nurses Day. And the reason why it is International Nurses Day is that this coming Tuesday, the 12th, is the 200th anniversary of the birth of Florence Nightingale, the lady with a lamp, the Englishwoman who professionalized nursing. Miss Nightingale was born into a well-to-do family of Unitarians just outside of London. And much like women in those costume dramas that we see on PBS, she had very little to do. But at the age of 16, she felt that she had received a call to serve others by being a nurse. A vocation that was not performed by well-to-do Protestant young women. Her mother and her sister frowned at this idea, and many people tried to convince her out of it. Now, many modern commentators looking at her life see that her expression of faith, her saying that she was called to this position as a nurse, was purely Machiavellian, saying that she used God as a way around the strict social norms of the day. Maybe that's true, but Florence Nightingale wrote much about her theology. After serving as a nurse in the Crimea Wars, she returned home ill and spent most of her life as a contemplative, writing letters and books. And although many of the articles out there say that she rejected the Unitarianism of her upbringing, the theology she describes for herself, I have to admit, is very Unitarian Universalist. For one, she believed that everyone goes to heaven. She believed that other religions contained revelations from God. She was often very critical of organized religion. And she felt that religion often worsened the situation of the poor and of women and others on the margins of society. And so she created a system to educate and train nurses, thus raising the status of nursing to what it is today. You know, the temporary hospital they set up in London just a few months ago to deal with folks affected by COVID-19 was named after her. It is the NHS, the National Health Service's Nightingale Hospital in London. Her work allowed nursing to be seen as a vocation, as a calling. This morning, I was thinking of all the people in this church community who are medical professionals. The first responders, the nurses, the doctors. What a blessing it is to have all of them in our community. They are a blessing to those they serve and a blessing to us as well. You know, I was going to list them all off, but I was afraid that I might forget someone. But I'm sure you know many of them. You might even know all of them. But we are so grateful for them in our lives. Maybe they're watching this right now. Or maybe they'll watch this later on because they're finishing a shift right now. But I hope that for a moment you think of them and thank them for what they do and are doing at this time, this job, this occupation, this vocation that they have chosen, or which perhaps was chosen for them, and how it's helping all of us. Any vocation is limiting. Robert Frost said that in simple eloquence when he spoke of the road not taken. Whatever we choose to do at any one time requires that we lay aside other interests and abilities for that time. That we take time to think about the work we do, to think about the things we no longer do. When I decided to go into ministry, I put aside my interests in music and art. I can always take those courses later on if I choose so. Choosing to follow a call means to limit oneself, and that is okay. And all of this relates directly to the idea of parenting as a vocation, a calling. Of course, it is true that when a person chooses to be a parent, or if they become parent before they make a deliberate choice, they will put aside more or less temporarily some of the interests and abilities which they could develop and use their own satisfaction or for the good of others. An idea that we should all remember on this Mother's Day. The poet Alana Dukenmine asks, have you found a calling and a following? Something that speaks to your bright, sparkling spirit, something which makes this planet feel new. Have you found a calling? Have you heard a message from God, however it is you define that God? If you have, I hope that you share this idea with your friends and those who have an open heart. And if you haven't found that calling, well, share that as well with those you care about. You see, we all need meaning in our lives. And sometimes we need silence to contemplate. And sometimes we need a welcoming voice of a friend or a colleague, counselor. And sometimes we need to listen to that small, still voice which calls to us in the night. It reminds us of our humanity and our need in the world, and how perhaps we could answer that. Amen. And blessed be.
As you all know, or most of you know, since November, we have designated a worthy cause each month and shared our plate, our weekly offering, 50-50 with that recipient. Our May Share the Plate choice is the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute to coincide with the annual Mother's Day Walk for Peace, which UUCR members have walked in and supported for many years and unfortunately cannot occur this year. Louis D. Brown Peace Institute is a Boston-based center of healing, teaching, and learning for families and communities impacted by murder, trauma, grief, and loss. Its goal is to transform society's response to homicide by creating and sustaining an environment where all families can live in peace and all people are valued. It believes that all families impacted by murder deserve to be treated with dignity and compassion regarding of the circumstances. The heart of their work is with families impacted by murder on both sides. Their programs and services take a multi-level approach to interrupt cycles of violence based on the principles of love, unity, faith, hope, courage, justice, and forgiveness. That sounds awful familiar to us as Unitarian Universalists. Please give generously to our virtual Sunday Share the Plate offering to support both the mission of UUCR and the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute. You may do so at any time during or after the service by going to our church website at uureading.org and clicking the donate link. I invite you to give as you are able for the good of this congregation and the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute.
We have something very special for the offertory today. This time has been a time of limitations for many of us, for all of us. But the musicians of the church have been brimming over with creativity. And this next piece that we're going to play for you is created by Jay White, who brought me a piece called Hear My Song months ago, before all of this started. And we were planning on singing it as a choir today on Mother's Day. Jay was not to be stopped. She made a multi-track, wonderful recording of this, and thanks to Trevor, who provided the accompaniment, and her husband, Will White, who has done an amazing job of putting together this lovely piece. So enjoy. Hear My Song.
Getting longer, we're not getting any stronger. Trust me, Mama knows. But lie in my arms while you're sleeping and think of the rivers you've crossed. I'll tell you the dreams I've been keeping for moments like this, when your hope is lost. Hear my song, it'll help you believe in tomorrow. Hear my song, it'll show you the way you can shine. Song that I sing, you'll be fine. Child, I know you're frightened and your throat's parched and dry, but just trust in Mama's singing and the gift tomorrow's bringing. Trust it's Just lie in my arms and I'll tell you the things that you know but forget. The lies no one ever could sell you. I know that it's hard, but don't give up yet. Hear my song, it'll help you believe in tomorrow. Hear my song, it'll show you the way you can shine. My song, it was made for times when you don't know where to go. Listen to the song that I sing. You'll be fine. 'Cause I'm singing, hold on, hold tight. I know it's dark right now, but just believe somehow that soon there will be light. Hold fast. That's not enough for some, but trust the light will come and we'll get past. You and Mama safe at last. Hear my song, it'll help us get through till tomorrow. Hear my song, it'll help us survive all the pain. Hear my song, it's the one thing I have that has never let me down. Listen to the song that I sing, listen to the words of my heart, listen to the hope I can bring, and start to grow and shine. Listen to the song that I sing, and trust me, we'll be fine. A new world calls across the ocean.
Wow, that's a hard act to follow. In our May newsletter, you'll find valuable church-related information and resources, including a daily list of our online offerings, which includes gatherings for every age group. A highlight for this week includes our Liberal Ladies gathering on Wednesday morning with Jamie Dingus as a featured guest. We hope you'll take a look at the May newsletter for details and join us. UUCR members were sent an email with the May annual members meeting information for the virtual meeting happening next Sunday, May 17th. If you did not receive that email, please contact Melissa Martin, our Member Services and Volunteer Coordinator. Members, please mark your calendars and plan to be virtually present with us for this important meeting next Sunday after service at 11:15 a.m. Our beloved Ferry Beach weekend in Maine has been canceled for 2020. Ferry Beach let us know that there may be an opportunity for a day or night visit for the church groups whose weekends were canceled later this summer. More information will be shared if and when it becomes available. We plan to be back at Ferry Beach next year for a great weekend of fun with our church community. If you are new to UUCR, we would love to hear from you. If you need assistance in accessing any online program or would like more information about anything church related, please send an email to Melissa Martin, our Member Services and Volunteer Coordinator. You can find her on our church website and in the service description below. We hope that this week finds you well and open to exploring new ways of becoming more involved in our congregational life.
Please join me in singing our closing hymn, One More Step. One more step, we will take one more step, till there is peace for us, and everyone will take one more step. One more word, we will sing one more word, till every word is heard by everyone. We'll say one more word. One more prayer, we will say one more prayer, till every prayer is shared by everyone. We'll say one more prayer. One more song, we will sing one more song, till every song is sung by everyone. We'll sing one more song.
Friends, will you join me in saying the words we say each week as we extinguish our chalice? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts. And now for our benediction. Please excuse the gendered language of this next poem, but it does so capture the importance of parenting. Blessings on the hands of women, father's, son, and daughter's cry, the sacred song that mingles with a worship in the sky, mingles where no tempest darkens, rainbows evermore are hurled. The hand that rocks the cradle is the hand that rules the world. Our worship is over, our service begins. Go in peace and happy Mother's Day.